Kamala Harris delivered her closing argument before a record crowd of 75,000 people in Washington, D.C., while Donald Trump continued to reel from the aftermath of a racist comment about Puerto Rico at his Madison Square Garden rally. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. The election is 6 days away, and I, for one, cannot wait for it to be over. I've been stress eating all the candy we bought to give out on Halloween. When kids come to our door on Thursday, it's just going to be the late night mugs our guests leave in the dressing room. And it's like they don't know their gifts. Oh, they do know? Well, me. But Donald Trump doesn't feel the same. In fact, Donald Trump is feeling wistful about the campaign.
It's sort of sad. We've been on this journey together. Almost every one of us has started together, right? And we've been doing it for 9 years. This is the final week.
You're sad it's ending? Last time I was this excited for something to be over, there was still an hour left in Return of the King. And look, I know that's a completely unnecessary sideburn on an Oscar-winning Lord of the Rings movie that came out 21 years ago, but just let me have this, okay? I'm stressed and I'm on edge and I can't take out my anger at anyone, so I'm gonna take it out on the hobbits because you guys, I already voted and that didn't help, so I keep scrolling for new polls every day, and every day they just say the same thing. Tied. Ooh, she's only down 5 in Texas. No, get that out of your head. No, tied. Then finally, it seems like the MSG rally is breaking through, and maybe that will tip the scales. Then Joe Biden opens his mouth and causes a kerfuffle. Then the White House puts out a transcript to correct the record, and we all have to decipher it like we're reading backwards hieroglyphics through a jeweler's loop. And we don't know what he said, and we don't know who's going to win, and we don't know if American democracy will survive, or if a man too dumb to close an umbrella will once again be in charge of the nation's nuclear arsenal. And the only thing we can know for sure is that Return of the King has had too many endings. This has been Seth loses it because his therapist was on vacation this week. Hope the leaf peeping was a success, Dave. But of course, Donald Trump wants his campaign to keep going. This is the part he likes. Everyone else is miserable, but he's having the time of his life. I have no doubt that if we could appoint him to a completely powerless position called campaigner-in-chief and just let him go from state to state, sleepily rambling to half-filled basketball arenas about Hannibal Lecter and toilets that don't flush and windmills killing birds, our long national nightmare would be over. He could even have his own official seal. Because the second the campaign ends, Donald Trump's life becomes miserable again. You know, it's one of two paths. Either he has to actually be president, a job he hates and is terrible at, or he has to go back to falling asleep in courtrooms and facing the prospect of jail time while sketch artists draw the most unflattering portraits of him that have ever been drawn. I mean, I'd say it's as unflattering as the Tom Brady sketch during the Deflategate trial, but Trump looks more like the football at the Deflategate trial. Trump doesn't want this to end, but the rest of us do, because unlike Trump and his diehards, we don't want our lives to be like this, an exhausting slog where every little thing becomes part of the culture war. Trump, on the other hand, he whines about everything, like when Trump went on Joe Rogan's podcast and whined about losing the 2020 election. Even Rogan, who gave Trump an opportunity to make his case, seemed skeptical.
I want to talk about 2020 because you said over and over again that you were robbed in 2020.
Yeah, totally.
How do you think you were robbed? Everybody always cuts you off. I'm going to allow...
Well, they not only cut you off. Well, what I'd rather do is we'll do it another time, and I would bring in papers that you would not believe, so many different papers. That election was so crooked. It was the most crooked election.
Okay, but give me some examples of how.
Well, let's start from the top and the easy ones.
Okay.
They were supposed to get legislative approval to do the things they did, and they didn't get it. In many cases, they didn't get it.
What things?
Anything.
Legislative approval
for extensions of the voting, for voting earlier, for this,
right.
All different things. We could go into this stuff. We could go into the ballots, or we could go into the overall. I'll give you another one.
Are you going to present this ever? Do you think like?
Let me just give you one more before.
I love how Rogan starts. I'm not going to cut you off, and then like 10 seconds in, he's like, I'm going to have to cut this off. Like this is nonsense. There's so much to unpack in this clip. First, his reaction when Rogan asks him, are you going to present this ever, is incredible. It's like asking a stoner where he parked his car. Hey, Brad, we've been walking through this parking garage for an hour. Are you sure you drove here? Oh, bro. Yeah, I just remember, I took the bus. Are you ever going to present this ever is a great question, especially when Trump lost roughly 60 court cases challenging the legitimacy of the election. No one who has evidence supporting their case chooses not to present it. There's no legal strategy called rope-a-dope, where you lose the first 60 and then right when they relax, pow! But I have to say, my favorite part of the clip is right off the top when Trump says this.
Well, what I'd rather do is we'll do it another time, and I would bring in papers that you would not believe. So many different papers.
60 cases and you never brought in the papers? So many different papers, all different shapes inside. We had little note cards, giant posters, the photo paper, copy paper, tissue paper, construction paper, which is great because it comes in different colors. But you have to, Joe, you have to be color. You have to be careful with the black paper because if you write with black crayon, you can't see anything, and that's what happened. That's what happened with my evidence of voter fraud. It's all right here. And even though he has less than no evidence, Trump is once again lying about voter fraud and laying the groundwork to claim the election was stolen if he loses.
I want to start by saying it's going very well. There are some bad spots in Pennsylvania where some serious things have been caught or in the process of being caught. If you have a mail-in ballot, get that damn ballot in, please, immediately, because they've already started cheating in Lancaster. They've cheated. We caught them with 2,600 votes.
We got it with all different kinds of paper, too. Matte paper, tracing paper, inkjet paper. We even got them with our hands on brown construction paper. We traced it, cut it out, now we have the little turkeys. And now the turkeys are voting. The turkeys are voting. But the unhinged voter fraud claims were not the most embarrassing thing Trump said in his Rogan interview.
The people are going crazy not to build them, but we have them. The whales are washing up on shore.
Right.
So in 50 years, they had one whale come ashore. Now they had like 18 come in the last year.
What is what is happening with the whales? I've read about this.
Well, they say that the wind drives them crazy. You know, it's a vibration. You know, the wind is rushing, the things are blowing, it's a vibration, and it makes noise. You know what it is? I want to be a whale psychiatrist.
My man, go for it. Follow your dreams. Follow that dream. Because if you would drop out, I would make that trade right now. I always said Tony Soprano and Dr. Melfi was the best therapy ever on TV, but if Trump was sitting across from a beluga whale on a couch, I would watch that out of that. I mean, so last week you were telling me about your father? So you think your father cared about the wind more than he cared about you? And now when you hear the wind, how does that make you feel? Our time is up. And hey, real quick, everybody. We do a thing online called Corrections where I address YouTube comments telling me what we got wrong this week. And before any of you complain, that's not what a beluga whale sounds like. We got those directly from a YouTube video from Mystic Aquarium called Learn About Beluga Whale Vocalization. So if you don't think that's what they sound like, you can right off. Or, as a beluga whale say... By the way, to do that insane Rogan interview in Texas, Trump made his rally crowd in Michigan, a crucial swing state, wait for hours in the freezing cold, to the point where many just gave up and left, despite Trump's plea to stick around.
Donald Trump is over 3 hours late right now for his rally in Battleground, Michigan, a very important state when it comes to holding on to the blue wall. We have new video from our reporters on the ground that shows some people in the restless crowd are beginning to head for the exits, despite a video message from Donald Trump asking them to stay up late for him.
I don't blame them. There's nothing I would wait 3 hours to see. One time I took my kids to the mall to take pictures with Santa, and the sign said, wait time 90 minutes, and I just turned to them and said, Santa's not real. He's not real. That's a 50-year-old man who drove here in a Ford Fiesta. I saw him putting his pants on outside Sbarro. So, look, I have no idea what's going to happen next week. The polls are a coin toss, but one thing I do know is this. Trump is not inevitable. Don't let yourself feel that way. He fell ass backwards into the presidency one time, despite losing the popular vote by 3 million, and he and his MAGA minions have been routed in election after election since then. He's not some unstoppable juggernaut. He's sleepily rambling about bitter grievances to half-empty arenas, while Kamala Harris gathers record crowds to outline her policy agenda.
With the White House as a backdrop, Vice President Kamala Harris with an address last night in front of a crowd that her campaign estimates was 75,000 people. Her speech was billed as a closing argument for voters who are still making up their minds.
Donald Trump would deliver tax cuts to his billionaire donors. I will deliver tax cuts to working people and the middle class. I will enact the first ever federal ban on price gouging on groceries. Cap the price of insulin and limit out-of-pocket prescription costs for all Americans. I will fight to help first-time home buyers with your down payment, take on the companies that are jacking up rents, and build millions of new homes.
That's also what Trump said when his advisors told him he was 3 hours late for his rally. Michigan, I'm not going back there. I'd rather spend another hour psychoanalyzing a whale. Tell me again about the wind. You can agree or disagree with any of the policies Harris outlined in her speech, but you can't say they don't exist. Now, let's check in on one of Trump's recent rallies to see what he's been talking about in his closing argument.
It's like we're a giant garbage can.
That's your closing argument? Aren't you supposed to be the America First candidate? We love America, don't we, folks? It's a garbage can, and not one of those nice, simple human garbage cans from Bed Bath & Beyond. It's the kind of garbage can that hobos light on fire and stand around. The kind with the little metal handles that you can barely fit through. In closing, America is a garbage can full of fast food wrappers, cigarette butts, and...
So many different papers.
Of course, the thing that really bothered Trump about Harris's speech was the size of her crowd, so he had to soothe himself by pretending it wasn't real.
Today they're busing people. You know, they're in a place in Washington, and they got buses all up. They're busing people because they couldn't get anybody to show up for her tonight.
My dude, look at the shots from your Atlanta rally and look at her speech in D.C. I guess the bus doesn't stop in Atlanta? Of course, the rally that's really a problem for Trump is not Kamala's, but his own. He's still reeling from the fallout over his vitriolic hate parade at Madison Square Garden, although he's now trying to ludicrously claim he had nothing to do with his own rally.
He did address before his remarks in West Palm Beach the comments from the comedian who led off that Madison Square Garden rally, saying that Puerto Rico was literally an island of floating garbage. And this is what he told ABC. He said, "I don't know him. Someone put him up there. I don't know who he is."
I have no idea who he is. Somebody said there was a comedian that joked about Puerto Rico or something, and I have no idea who he is. Never saw him, never heard of him. Now, what they've done is taken somebody that has nothing to do with the party, has nothing to do with us, said something, and they try and make a big deal. But I don't know who it is. I don't even know who put him in. And I can't imagine it's a big deal.
The amount this man won't take responsibility for anything with his name on it is almost impressive. Like President Truman said, the buck stops here. Trump's like, I never saw that buck. I never met that buck. And even when you show him a picture of him with the buck, he says, I go to a lot of stag parties. That's not, by the way, that's not fair, by the way. We photoshopped, obviously, in that deer. Here's the original picture. I thought it was fair to show you the original picture. But to me, what's equally galling is that while Trump's campaign is trying to walk back the Puerto Rico comment, they're not walking back any of the other odious stuff that was said at this rally.
We will have the largest mass deportation in American history.
America is for Americans and Americans only.
She is some sick bastard, that Hillary Clinton, huh? What a sick son of a bitch. The whole party, a bunch of degenerates, lowlives, Jew haters, and lowlives. The illegals, they get whatever they want, don't they?
She's a fake, a fraud. She's a pretender. Her and her pimp handlers will destroy our country.
In fact, she is the devil, whoever screamed that out. She is the Antichrist.
And there's no defense that those were jokes. Those weren't jokes. Those were beliefs, and Donald Trump has said not one word about them because that's what he believes too, and it is deeply vile. A speaker at Trump's rally actually called Kamala Harris the devil. And let me just say, if I had to pick one candidate in the race who might be the devil, I think I'd go with the guy who, in every courtroom sketch, looks like he should be surrounded by flames. So both campaigns are delivering their closing arguments, and while Kamala Harris is laying out a very clear agenda that you can agree or disagree with, Trump can't even say what he would do if he wins, only who he'd attack, who he'd exact revenge against. He's sleepily muttering to half-empty arenas about his grievances, and that's only when he's not speaking gibberish. Half the time, I have no idea what he's saying. To get inside this guy's head, you'd have to be a
whale psychiatrist.
This has been a closer look.